gouge will, and what happened there, that's actually a really good point. Rightio, before we jump straight into ripping into this beautiful little piece of liquid amber and turning a stunning little bowl out of it, I hope it's going to be stunning, I want to just run through a few things before we start. It's like building a house. When I turn a bowl or a platter or anything I do, I always make sure I put the foundation work in before I get going. And you're probably wondering what all this stuff is here on the lathe, and I will talk about this later on. It'll come in handy if your vision is starting to lose your vision a little bit, or you're needing some glasses, or you're finding it difficult to see the piece on the lathe. That'll come in handy. I've got my chuck here. It's a VM100 chuck by Vic Mark in Australia here. Not sponsored, I wish. Oh, how good would that be? I've closed it down, all the way down like that, and then opened it up so I can get my calipers and fit them in there, in between the chuck jaws, a bit more, like so. Then I get my dividers, measure that distance, so I'm ready to go, put them there. These magnet trays are amazing if you can ever get one. I get them from an auto car shop here in Australia. It's called Super Cheap. I think it might be called Auto Barn or Canadian Tire or something like that overseas. So I've got my chuck ready to go. I give the back a clean. I put it on the lathe like so. Before I get to that last point, I snap it into position, and that binds that metal on there really nicely. Then I get my chuck screw. This is what it looks like here. And I'm aiming to get the back, this collar here, into the back of the teeth of the chuck jaws. I'm going to feed the bowl onto the chuck screw. Lathe speed's turned down, and I've drilled that hole with a 5.5 millimeter drill bit to the depth of this here. I've just kept it, and that's the one I use all the time. And that'll slowly start winding itself on. Bring up the speed a bit, let it come on there, and then let go, lock the spindle off, and then tighten that bowl onto the chuck screw. Like that. Once that's good, tool rest up. And now we're ready to go. First thing, I'm going to flatten off that base, and I'm going to do that with a 19 millimeter bowl gouge with the bevel angle of 55 degrees. And this is what I use for roughing out with, shaping up and just removing the meat of the timber off the bowl. And then I've got my smaller gouges that I do some more detail work with. Bring up the speed of the lathe. Now there's no reason why you can't use at any stage your tailstock during this with your cup center, and then that will give you that extra bit of security if that's something that you need, or it's something that you want to do. Put your tailstock on. There's no reason why you can't. I'm going to hold the gouge down like I put my hand in my pocket, and I'm going to hold the handle there like that. That's how I'm going to hold the gouge. Overgrasp grip like I'm going to do some chin-ups, and then I'm going to press that into riding a little bit higher there, like so. Feet, just position your feet nice and wide so you've got that support there. Left foot in front of right, or right foot in front of left, just like you're about to get into a, get in the ring. So you're well supported, your weight's distributed, all that good jazz. Just going to flatten off this base here. So we've got an area where we can have a registration for that tenon to form into that dovetail. That's what I'm looking for. And now I'm going to do a pull cut around the side of the bowl, all the way around. And what we're doing is I'm just truing up this bowl. I'm just going to true it right up. Don't worry about running off the edge there. Just get your head out of the line of fire and let it shoot off. So that is the doorway where you don't want to stand. In the military, you never stand in a doorway or a hallway or something like that. You want to get out of that doorway there. So you might have seen when I came to the end there, I was coming up to the end. Look where my head is. I've got my head right out of the way as I'm coming up to that last bit of the cut. Left foot in front of right, using that left hand wing there. Just going to peel that away. Slowly raise my handle, riding the bevel, and then push into the space. It's going to be a nice little bowl. This I've never turned liquid amber before, and now one thing that I like to do is flatten off the face, because otherwise it's spinning and it's got that whoop-de-doo in there and it just throws me off. So I'm going to come this way and I'm going to attack into the face of the bowl. I never overreach too far because you can end up in a bit of strife and get into a catch. So thumb on the back of the bevel there, on the back of the tool. I've got my hand still riding low and I'm just going to push into the face of the bowl. And that just gives me a nice looking angle there. Come around and then keeping the flute faced away from you. I'm just going to take that little nasty edge off there because I have cut myself a lot of times in the past. So now that's looking roughly true there. It's looking pretty nice. We can also see the wood, we've got a few cracks and a few blemishes going on, but not to worry. Need to tighten that screw. If that ever happens to you and the banjo is feeling loose and you've got a lot of slop in the locking lever there, just get underneath there and there's a little wheel, like a circular disc. Just tighten it away from you, so turn it to the right, so righty-tighty, not lefty-loosey, and that'll strengthen that tool rest up, but there's a nut there I just need to adjust later on. Worry about that later. Now I've got my dividers over here already preset. So I'll just check, okay, I've got plenty of room there. I'm going to get the tool rest up to height. Now that we've trued everything up, I tend to true everything up first and remove a lot of that unevenness. So when it's spinning true when I mark my tenon up. I don't want any weight undistributed on the bowl, so when I mark the tenon and then I remove all that weight, I don't know, it's just psychologically I think it might move that tenon or disrupt the flow of the bowl. So tool rest up to height there, using my dividers, place my finger over the top and the left side touches, the right side shadows. So left side touching, right side shadows that line. And then we're bang on. Dividers live over there. Back to the 19mm bowl gouge here. And I'm going to hold it over grasp grip again. We're doing chin-ups. I'm a bit high. That's one thing with these bigger bowl gouges. Just got to watch that height. And I'm just going to press in there and just create a nice flat spot, and then bring the tool back to myself. I move the weight of my body back to my left foot. Everything stays still. Show that again. Everything stays still. I just move my body. I move my body back. Once I'm good there, stop the lathe, bring up the tool rest to center height again, and then I'm going to use the tool so it's supported by my forearm, finger over the top. It's 1 inch skew. I'm going to get this corner here and I'm going to line it up with the mark that I made with the divider, and I'm just going to press in. Tool's flat on the tool rest, and that is our tenon. Now that's obviously oversized on the base here for the rest of the body of the bowl. And one way of really speeding things up for yourself so you can spend more time here turning other pieces and just banging out some bowls is this guy here. It's called the golden ratio calipers. And how I'm going to show you use it, and I've made a full video on this, you can go check out, I'll put it in the description, is I'm going to bring it over the top, I stand back, eyeball it up, and then now that is the distance of our foot. I then place that over the back of the bowl, or you can get your ruler really quickly, just keep it in your little magnet tray or in your jacket. And now that is 80 mil, so I'm going to make a 40 mil mark off to one side, and then I know that's the size of my base, because a base of a bowl should, in theory, this is general rules, be 1/3 of the overall diameter. What did I say? 40 mil, yep. 40 mil, so we're not too far off there. And that will be the base. So I'm just going to remove that material and then we'll be away. To do that, I'm just going to change it up. I've got a 16mm bowl gouge here with a 45-degree bevel with a lot of the heel removed. And I'll show you why I've got a lot of that heel removed a bit later on. Same thing again, I'm just going to show you a push cut. Just going to dig in there, make a scallop for our little Roman ogee that I'll show you that we're going to do. And then I'm going to pull that material away. This is a really nice sharp gouge. So that's why it's nice, it's handy to have a couple of gouges. Just going to do a push cut now. Probably a bit too much material for a push cut. Bit of material to work with there, and I like a Roman ogee. I'm just going to ride the bevel until I see those little shavings there. So I'm just going to follow my line, riding the bevel the whole time, probably riding a little bit low there. Ride the bevel, see the shavings, and it's the same when I do the bottom bowl gouge as well, and I learnt this off Glenn Lucas. I highly recommend you go watch all his DVDs. And my original teacher was my father-in-law up here. I've got his photo mounted on the wall behind me. And that's where he was, yep. I miss him a lot. So now I'm going to overgrasp grip again. I'm going to pull the handle down low and I'm just going to tidy up these little indentations here. I'm going to use the side wing of my gouge. And this is a nice little shearing cut. You see those little shavings there coming onto my hand? Just where I stopped turning to pick that bevel up again. Beautiful. Stop there. Let's have a look at how we've done. And that is ready to go. We've got a few little tool marks here, but you could sand them out with starting on 120 grit. That is nice and smooth. Let's take it off, lock this spindle. You can wind it off like this, or turn your lathe speed down before you do it. Hold the bottom, bring up the speed, helmet down. And if anyone's interested in these helmets, these are the go. These are by Honeywell, a bionic Honeywell helmet. They are the best. I've tried numerous helmets before and I'm telling you, this guy here protects your neck, fully adjustable, up and down, head strap, you name it. You can't go wrong. I'm going to mount this with the end grain or the grain facing upwards like it was growing in the tree. But in there, wind it in, and as I'm mounting that bowl into the chuck, I hold see I've got my hand on the face of the bowl. I'm pushing in with my right hand and I'm tightening with my left, or however you want to do it. Bring out your tailstock if you want. If you're struggling to hold the bowl in there and putting tension onto it to push it into the chuck jaws, bring up your tailstock. It's there. And if you've just used it to help you out the start there, just keep it on the lathe. Just be mindful when it's on the lathe, you can hit your elbow on it. So we're going to start this cut now. I'm going to bring out the 19mm bowl gouge. I just have to be mindful when I'm turning this now that this will make this heavy cuts, and I want to avoid snapping that little tenon off. I'm not normally turning bowls this small, but this is good for me. And I've got some cracks here. You can see these cracks, so I'm going to remove a bit of material, might chuck some CA glue in there, but we'll see how we go because I want to just get this down. So before I start, a quick little tip on how to know whether you're cutting on center. I'm gonna lock this spindle off, and I've showed other people this before. It's really helpful. I learnt this off the wood turning club that I'm part of. I bring up the lathe tool rest to center height, like that. Make a line, lower it, because this 19mm gouge is big. Hold my gouge like I'm about to make a cut. So I'm standing here, I'm going to position myself. So I'm going to be pushing in. I'm going to use that side wing there. You can see that I'm riding a little bit high. So I'll lower that down a little bit more, tighten up. And now we're on center. Unlock. And we're away. Bring up the speed. And a general rule, sorry, not a general rule, just a nice speed to run at, and I learnt this off Neil Ellis, is 1200 RPMs. And I've found that that's a nice speed for doing a lot of work. I've got that tool in by my side, and I'm just using my hand here like I'm doing the chin-ups, and I'm just bringing that tool into the face of the timber. Sorry if I'm talking so much, but I just like explaining what I'm doing. And now when I pull back, I'm going to distribute my weight onto my back foot. Forward again. Like so. Let's see how it's looking. A little bit more. Good way of checking if your lathe is vibrating too much is place your hand on the bedways and see if it's rocking its guts out. Side wing again, and I'm pushing in towards that headstock because I'm being mindful that I've got that little tenon there. I'll show you a little trick here. Make some steps. And now we're good there. I'm going to bring the tool around, arm extended, so when I push in, the bevel is facing into the timber, and when I turn it around, that bevel will flow on the side wall of the bowl. Overgrass grip, position my feet wide, bring the handle around to myself. Just going to work this down. Just removing this material here. And when I do it, I bring that handle around, but in that bowl there I can see that I'm riding that bevel. And at the moment I'm able to make it all the way down to the bottom, but be mindful, if you're using your gouge to go all the way to the bottom, that can create a sharp angle leading down to the floor of your bowl, to the bottom of it. So that's why it's good to, you've heard of the bottom bowl gouge, you come down as much as you can with the gouge, leads you to about here, and then you need to remove that floor out to create that curve, that nice curve you see in those bowls. So the gouge will, and what happened there, that's actually a really good point. And what happened there, that's actually a really good point. That was my fault. Absolutely, it was my fault. I want to explain myself. But what happened is, I wasn't supporting the tool. So the gouge touched the timber, but did you see the way it skated away? So whenever you enter the timber, you always want to hold the gouge sturdy, or you might see me when I'm turning, I use the back of my pinky to stop that gouge from slipping backwards. And those little steps that I created, they're to assist you when you're coming into the bowl. So sort of made that happen for you there. See what I do for you? Yeah. I'll just stop talking for a bit. I get excited. like hanging out with my mates in the shed. It's nice. It's a really nice feeling. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to come around and tidy up my mess on the side of the bowl here. See what's hitting it. Might have been that little bit of timber there, yeah. So that crack might give us some grief now, but we'll just see how we go. So this is a little 12mm bowl gouge, a 1/4 inch bowl gouge, and I'm just going to work that face of the rim down. You can hear that crack. And now I'm going to support the back of the cutting edge with the pinky. Fingers are over the flute like this, and I'm going to position myself nicely and then right in. Nice. I like wide rims on my bowls, so I was making a bit too much of a heavy cut there for that timber. Let's have a look at our rim that we've done. See how it's looking there, see that crack? We'll keep going, I'll just leave it in there. It's not causing me too much of a drama, but if it keeps splitting down, then we'll know about it. So now I'm just going to take this next little piece out. Slowing down when I get to the bottom there. I'm just going to slowly remove that there. Okay, that's nice. Nice little wide little dish. Looks really elegant, beautiful. I'm just going to get some super glue on that. Now I'm going to quickly put some super glue on here because I am worried about it busting out. Just a quick little fix. I normally keep, there we go. So this is just a bag of powder, bit of sanding dust. Just going to jam it in there now just to build up the body of it. Sort of like putting a spine back into the piece. Just going to get a bit more. Hit it with some accelerator. If I can. Now what I wanted to mention this piece earlier is when you're turning and you might be doing a live edge bowl, or, you know, like I said, sometimes I've got glasses myself. You can place this piece of white, it's a bit of core flute. You can put it underneath, you can put whatever you want there, but don't use paper or use something solid so it doesn't just fly away on you. And you'll see how much clearer that is. Put it back, take it away, put it back. How much clearer that is when you use that. So that's just little things that can help you out. Okay, now I'm ready to go in here. I'm just going to make one more cut down there just to sort of smooth that little edge out. And I'll just go back to my 16mm. I might have to support the back of the bowl because we're getting a little bit thin as we're making our way down. So I just lightly touch the back of the bowl there, ride the bevel until I see those little shavings there. Slowly making our way down to the bottom there. Just slowing right down as we come down to the bottom here. Sweet. And now, this is just a negative rake scraper here that I'm going to use to just tidy up just on the inside there. You don't have to, you can probably just go straight to sanding and you'll sand out those little bumps with 120 grit anyway. I just want to show you another tool. Hand over the top, finger down over the top of the tool. Tool is riding up my forearm. And I'm just going to lightly caress that wood. You can see those little tiny shavings flying off there. If anyone's from construction here, you'll know I'm just picking up the rill that the grader left over. Just that little tiny rill there. And that. So I wanted to make this little bowl for you guys just to sort of take you through some of these little shorter little demonstrations to hopefully help you out wherever you are on your wood turning journey. I'm no expert in any of this, but that is a cute little bowl. These little imperfections you can fix up with sanding. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You all know how to sand. If you need a hand with your sanding, not saying that you don't know how to sand, but you want to improve your sanding and get rid of all the little scratch marks that you might end up with, I've linked a video just here. Go check it out. And this is a cute little liquid amber bowl. Thanks very much. Cheers.